like to welcome and thank you all for joining us today. My name is Kristen Thomas, and I'm the Manager of Community here at Sucuri, and I will be your moderator for today. We do have a few housekeeping items to go over before we begin today's presentation. First, please ask questions while the presentation is happening. If you think of that really important question, just go ahead and post it immediately into the Q&A box right away so you don't forget. Just to note, we will only answer the questions during the Q&A period following the presentation. Please keep the questions concise as possible and focused on the subject of website security. We will do our best to answer as many questions in the Q&A portion, but not to worry, Val will continue to answer any questions following the webinar using the hashtag #AskSucuri on Twitter. Second, at the end of the webinar, a brief survey will open up on your screen. We ask that you will just take a quick moment to complete it so we can learn more about you and continue to offer you meaningful content. We do plan to make the video of this presentation available to all who registered. You can expect a follow-up email in a couple of days with a link to the video and a copy of Val's presentation. And now I'm going to hand it off to Val Vesa, our presenter for today.
Thank you very much, Kristen. Hello, everyone, and welcome to "Oh No, My Website Has Been Hacked" webinar. As you have heard from Kristen, my name is Val, or the legal name being Valentin, but everybody calls me Val. I'm in charge of social media, and I'm doing brand evangelism for Sucuri. Husband, I'm father of two. We have a daughter who is 9 years old and a boy who's 12. And we will talk about him in the following minutes. And my biggest passion is traveling, and every time I do travel, you're going to find me on Instagram a lot, sending a lot of photos. And yes, mostly with my family. You can see here my children and my wife. And of all the beautiful places I get to go when we travel for business, and then we always have those extra hours that we go around and travel and get to see the locations where we go. I'm currently living in Cluj-Napoca, which is in the center of the former county of Transylvania, the famous Transylvania, but unfortunately there's no vampires, but you can still come and visit. And that will be kind of a northwest to the country, Romania. And for the past 18 or so years, I have been pretty much involved in a lot of things that are going on in social media, online marketing. I'm working as a social media specialist, as I said here. But if I go into my sort of personal presentation, I would say that I never eat pork, or very rarely. And unfortunately, I don't eat seafood I don't really like it. I started eating tuna fish, which was a really big thing, and my wife really appreciated. Unfortunately, I love Coca-Cola too much, and especially when I need to clean the bathroom. It's really useful. You could try it yourself. But the actual subject of our conversation today is, as you have heard, our charity project named Shoebox Project, and of course, the platform that it runs on, WordPress. Now, to put the big story short, Shoebox started out as a family project. When we started back in 2006, when our son Luca, that I mentioned you before, he was 3.5 years old, and we tried with my wife to teach him how to give, teach him that anything that he receives on Christmas can be a big joy for him, can be a reason of smiling. But there are so many other children around us who never get any present for Christmas because there's no funds, there's no money, and for many of those, there's no Santa Claus due to that situation. So we wanted to teach him that it's much more important to give than to receive. So we prepared 2 shoe boxes together with another family and some friends, and we went to a very poor family, and we let him give that box away. And then on the way home, we started talking about it. So I asked him, you know, what do you feel? What happened? What did you talk to him? Me and my wife, we sort of stood at a distance, so to let them talk amongst themselves. I think the the child was around his age, so maybe 4, maybe something like that. And I told him on the way back, please don't share this with anyone. This is something that we do as a family, and if you liked it and if you think it's worth it and you want to do it again, we can repeat this at next Christmas. But let's not brag about doing a good deed, right? But as you know, and maybe most of you hearing now are parents also, children don't really do everything that we tell them to do. So he went back to kindergarten and he talked to everyone in his class. They heard from him things like how undressed the child was, the fact that it didn't have any shoes on, all those little details that maybe as adults we sometimes miss, but they were really impressive for him, for my son. So the children talked with their parents at home, and then parents started calling us, me and my wife, and asking us what project did we start. They want to go and be members in our NGO, and we were just astonished, like there is no NGO, we just did something in the family. And then we found out that he actually shared with everyone what we did. So I told everyone it was sort of too late in 2006 to start doing it as a big thing. So I said, let's do it next year. And in 2007, with these parents that I've talked about, and only using Yahoo Messenger, which I believe is about to be discontinued, we talked and we kind of organized, and we were able to raise 512 shoe boxes filled with sweets and clothing items and everything nice for 512 children who in 2007 most likely received the first time ever Christmas gift. So that was just amazing. And then looking through the years, last year in 2015, we were able to raise more than 100,000 boxes. And we have now locations in 19 countries, in 203 cities, and 416 collection centers. Most of the bigger cities have, of course, multiple locations, so people can easily get and have in their walking distance a location where they can drop their boxes. As I said, everything started in 2007 as a project. There's no NGO behind this. I want to emphasize this. There is no structure, there's no organization, there's no money involved. We do not accept any sort of cash donations. Everyone that wants to participate, the only thing they need to do is fill a shoebox with the items that we recommend for depending on the age and gender of the child, and then just bring it to a collection center. Everything started in 2007, but 2 years later, my wife had a suggestion, and for those of you who have wives or partners, do listen to them. They do tend to have amazing suggestions, and I think that a lot of great ideas in the world came from women, although maybe we men don't really admit that. In 2009, she said, "Dear, we need a website. We cannot just go on like this, doing everything on Yahoo Messenger, text messages, phone calls. I do not want to describe how long the phone bill was when she got home with it, and the other end was still in the provider's headquarters." So I said, okay, let's go online. What is it out there? What was it out there in 2009 that I can go with? So I found, of course, WordPress. And then reading about it and the famous 5 minutes install and be online in 5 minutes, I was sure that at that time it was the best solution to go with. And then what do you do when you decide to create a website? You first look for a very cheap hosting and domain offer, which is what I found. And of course, as a charity, and for those of you running projects, I'm sure when you were at this point in time, maybe the money were not there and money maybe was short, but any offer like that, any coupon, any voucher, any discount that you can find, it was like a gold. So go online. If you are lucky enough, as we were, the host was using Softaculous or any other sort of software that helps you install scripts on your server. In our case, Softaculous. And then, of course, if you find WordPress in there, you can just go on through, as I said, the magical online in 5 minutes process and then get online. The funny part was that I wasn't much of a designer back then. The even funnier part is that I'm not much of a designer either today. But this is how the site was looking like in December 12th, 2009 when we started it. Some of the CSS and images are, of course, not here because we are looking in a Wayback Machine screenshot. But still, let me tell you, it wasn't nothing impressive. But it worked. We had an online presence. We had a website that people can go to. We could send out links. Of course, we did not have a Facebook page yet. There was no Twitter account. There was no YouTube back then. As I said, everything was done through Yahoo Messenger. But I do want to point out here that we had a free theme donated to us by vladstudio.com. I'm sure every time I say this name, nobody remembers it. But for those of you who do, you know who he is. And everything was great. We had a website. We were online. We were able to talk to people, receive emails, until this happened. December 22nd, 2014, our beloved website was hacked. Of course, you feel that everything collapses on you. The first question is why, and then why me, and then why us? What is it so important on this website that somebody would decide to hack it 2 days, 3 days before Christmas? And the impacts were massive. Emails that I've never sent started to come back to us, which obviously pointed to the fact that we had a script or some sort of malware file in the site that was sending out emails. We had a great emotional, social, loving project that was sending out porn and Viagra spam. And just imagine the impacts of all those people receiving that. And then, of course, we get a warning from the host saying, if this goes on, we will suspend the website. I'm sure many of you were in the same situation where, you know, this happens to you, there's malware on the website, and when at the worst moment you're trying to find help from your host, they say, if this goes on, we're going to suspend you. And then, of course, email was now down, like no legitimate email can go out and in because there were millions or whatever, hundreds of thousands of spam emails just blocking and clogging the Exim server. So we were in the mid-project phase. We usually start in December 1st and up to 15th of December, where we gather the boxes in the collection centers. And then from 16th to 22nd, 23rd, and sometimes even Christmas Eve, 24th, we distribute the boxes to the children. So everyone on Christmas Day, they can open their presents. Now, imagine we were on December 22nd. We were almost done with distributing the boxes. I was already doing the lists and preparing the report for to share with the volunteers and donors, all those who donated the box, to let them know where the boxes went, how the children received them, who was donating to where, and all that. But you know, we were just out. The website was already blacklisted by the end of the day. Anybody going to the site would see that this website distributes malware, which just speaks to the incredible amount of awe and shock that we all had in the team. All our credibility built on all the past experiences is now almost gone, especially online. Nobody could find us, and anybody finding us, if they go there, they would probably not want to come back when they see that that image of a site being hacked. So the first thing that you do when you're in this situation is, besides asking yourself why, you try to fix it yourself. And don't tell me you don't, because I know you did. Every time you've been there, the first thought was, okay, so with whatever amount of technical knowledge that I have right now, what can I do to fix this? Make it go away. Just make sure it doesn't look like that anymore. I don't want to see that image. I don't want to hear those songs. I just want my website back. So I just listed some of the things that I did back then, looking at the HT access to see if there were any edits done, because there were, and that page that you saw was being forcefully display to anybody going to the website because they were redirected there. Trying to see if there's any unauthorized FTP access. Of course, checking the users list on the site. I knew exactly who had access to do what because all the volunteers were specifically added to the site to do a specific job. And all these other things, looking at a database, I've seen some strange codes and bits of scripts there. And then I did what I thought was the best thing to do, change all the passwords, of course, FTP, cPanel, Norton Commander, I don't know exactly what sort of FTP manager I was using, but I was just trying to make sure all the passwords are new, like you would. And then, of course, that sort of took care of the online part. And then I thought, okay, what if they actually hacked into my computer? Because maybe it wasn't directly to the website. So I scanned my computer to see if there's any keyloggers, malware, anything like that. And contrary to public habits, I actually had a valid license for antivirus. I didn't use any nulled software, which you shouldn't neither. And I thought to myself, okay, you did a good job. The website was clean and it was back online. So celebrate, right? Everything is back. I did it myself. I felt good about myself. But that only took 2 days for the hackers to be back. And this is how the site looked like on December 24th, Christmas Eve, 1 day before Christmas. Everything was back. And I don't know exactly if that's true or not, but my suspicion is that this was another hacker because, they all like to have their own signature image. And I realized that this is the time to ask for help. And we're going to talk about this later on in the presentation, but it wasn't any longer for me a thing that, okay, let's do it again on my own. I couldn't do it. So I tried to see if there's any services out there that could help me. Remember, we were a project. There was no money or not a lot of money that I could spend on anything like online, web, security, anything like that. So the single thought that I had was, how can I get out of this one and have someone, I don't know who, help me? I tried to do initially everything that I could. As you could see, I didn't do much, or it didn't take too long for them to come back. So I was looking on Google and searched, as many of you maybe had, hacked website cleaning services. And I found Sucuri. And of course, now I work for Sucuri and I am part of the company. But back then, for me, Sucuri was something like a savior. And I could say that. I went online, and I will go over this again, but this is the first part, the first bit of the online chat that I had with Hillary. She's still with the company, by the way, and we still have conversations about, hey, do you remember when I came online? And look at the timestamp. The timestamp is my local time in Romania, 3:45, 3:46, 3:47. That was the local time. The biggest surprise, good surprise, the most positive shock, if you want, that I had was that on Christmas Eve, at that time in the morning for me in Romania, somebody was online at Sucuri, knowing what I was talking about, having a clue exactly what the problem could be. They even did a small evaluation in the chat as to what happened exactly, so I could go on and order and get cleaned. And the amount of assurance that you get in those moments when somebody is there ready to help, you feel it in your bones that they know what they're talking about. It's not just scripts and marketing. It's actual help that you can get in minutes. And I'm saying minutes because 40 minutes later the website was back online. And Sucuri helped with, as I said, 4 a.m. for me was something that I would never imagine anybody in any other service to be online and ready to help me, at least back then. The initial evaluation was done in the chat, so they already knew exactly what happened, or sort of guessed what could be the problem, and then they just directed me to the sign-up page. I opened a ticket, malware removal was done. 40 minutes later, the website was clean. And not only did they clean the website, which again, I think, remember what happened is very important. They sent me an email well, I say they, but now it's our, I mean, I'm part of the team now. But I got an email saying, just follow these steps if you want to continue to be clean after we cleaned your website. It's just, you know, something that you see somebody caring for you. And again, in the situation that I was in, any bit of help was just magic. And when you see so much help coming in minutes or hours, that's just amazing. And then, of course, by the end of the next day, they already removed the blacklist from the website. So the website was back online on Christmas Day, and everybody was happy. Now, if I go back trying to understand what I think happened, I would most likely say it was a random attack. I have no clue why would anyone hack a website that only had mostly static pages with, you know, presenting what we do, what to put in the boxes, some videos of how to actually wrap the boxes, and make sure you don't have perishable in there like oranges or yogurt, because, you know, those could be damaged in storage before they actually can get to the children. There was no e-commerce being done. There was no credit cards stored. There was nothing that you would expect a hacker to long for and to want to penetrate your website to get those details or that data. And then again, I just had a default WordPress site. There was no custom security settings. There was no you know, something that I would do now, maybe like change the WP admin URL, or just move everything of like config files outside of the public HTML folder, or, you know, just generic things like that that help a lot in your security posture. There was nothing like that going on. It was just an empty, clean WordPress install. And I did have the, let's say, famous Tin Thumb plugin that I'm sure was vulnerable, maybe was part of the issue. And then by the things that I've seen going out in those 2-3 days from the website, from the server, most likely the hacker's intent was to spam existing lists from our website. Now, thank God everything is back in normal, and now the website looks like that. For those of you not understanding Romanian, somewhere on the side there's a page describing the whole project in English. I will make sure that maybe I will send it out in the email that everybody will get. But then again, going back to the issue of being hacked, I now refer to this experience as a good thing. And there's a reason why I say a good thing, because normally when you associate hack with good, there's just no logic to that. But looking forward, I'm showing you some of the photos that I've taken in the many trips I took in the past 1.5 years with the Sucuri team to all these amazing events, trying to blend in the local communities of platforms like WordPress, Drupal, Joomla, and so on. And all these amazing people that I've met. And remember, I was telling in the beginning how much I love to travel. And this opportunity to do social projects, meet people, talk to them about what we do in Romania and then what we do in the other countries. There's so many of them that came forward saying, hey, I want to start this in my country too. I want to have a location in our city. And I'm sure most of you watching now and listening, I'm sure you have in your city somebody that you can help. I'm sure there's a family who maybe don't do that well that you, or maybe they have children that only eat once a day, and you will only find out this by going and watching, making sure you see what happens. When that neighbor walks to their car to leave in the morning, just spend an extra 5 seconds saying good morning, and maybe find out more details about them. And sometime, somewhere in the back of your mind, if you feel yourself in a position to help, do it. It will only bring you so much happiness. I can say about my experience that I am so happy that I get to travel, to meet people, and to share with them not only my love for WordPress and security and this focus on making sure that our responsibility as website owners is to keep our websites clean, so that when people come to our websites, they get the message and not the malware, right? They get whatever we try to send and express to them about what we do, about what we love, about what we are involved with, and not the viruses and not the hacks. So I will try to go over some of my personal best practices for website security. Again, I work in marketing, so don't expect me to go very technical on this one, but I will just make sure that I share with you what I do to keep my websites safe. And I will start with number one, and that's my personal favorite, is learn. Always learn. You can never have enough information. You can never say, now I have reached a level where everything there is to know, I know, I'm full, so now I'm going to do anything else. Of course, you can start with our blog. There's tons of educational information there about any platform or non-platform. You can learn about how to secure your website. You can learn about how to make sure that the access that goes, the people that access your site are only the ones who actually have to access your site. As I've listed there, you can employ a web application firewall. Of course, we recommend our Sucuri firewall, but make sure that people who are going in, who have access to your site, are the ones who actually need it. Think about this. Do they really need admin level access to change some images? Do they really need root level access in your server to, I don't know, upload a PDF via your website? What are the platform vulnerabilities that exist? Learn about them. Try to find information, no matter what your website is built on, be it WordPress, Drupal, Joomla, anything like that. Make sure you find information about what's vulnerable. Make sure you stay away from vulnerabilities and build in a safe way. And again, if you hear about news, like we put out so many articles about malware and vulnerabilities that happen either live or that we hear about after they get fixed, so many other platforms, so many other news sites are doing the same. Make sure when something like that is announced, make sure you check your website. So many people think that, oh, there's a new vulnerability for WordPress. Oh, that's fine. I don't have that version. I'm fine. Always go back in there and check. What if you are also attacked? Number two, that would be passwords. Now, this should be the number one and also the most important thing. Always use a password manager. That's what I was taught by the security experts that I work with every day. That's what I was told initially in the first day that I got cleaned. They were telling me, make sure you don't, I love you 1 2 3 blah 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 or da da da. Use those kinds of passwords, but go in a password manager. There's tons out there. I'm just going to name, for example, LastPass that I use, or 1Password, but you can find others, of course. Go for complex structures. Don't go for one-word passwords. For example, you can choose something like your favorite song when you were a child, or some lyrics in a poem that you liked, or maybe the song that your mom used to sing to you when you were little. Just something that makes a lot of sense and has a lot of meaning to yourself, and that is very difficult, of course, by others to guess. Then go through everything that means upper, lower, special characters, case, numbers, and of course go more than 10 characters, and never, for the love of God, never reuse passwords. That's the worst thing ever. Just imagine seeing an email from your, let's say, LinkedIn, like it just happened, I think, in the beginning of this month, where they send that email out saying, if you used your LinkedIn passwords on other sites, make sure you change those. Now just think about yourself when one big site is hacked or when passwords are leaked. What if you used that password that was leaked on n amount of other websites? Now that would be concerning, right? Number three would go, always update, no matter what it is. If, depending on what we talk, we can go and say about CMSs, plugins, server, so many other things, but always make sure you have the latest, most updated version of anything in there. Usually, especially when security updates are released, all the vendors are very, very vocal about it. They tweet out, they send newsletters, they post on their website saying, please update now, now, update. Imagine that the minutes you need to actually see the news, and then maybe the tens of minutes that you need to go in and log in and update and everything, those minutes, that time that passes is clean opportunity for hackers to go in, because you're still naked, you're still open. That vulnerability is still yours because it never got patched, you didn't update. So always make sure you update. Make sure you have backups. Going back to my story with the Shoebox site, I did not have backups. I just never thought of it. I just assumed that the host would have backups. I never thought of asking my host ahead of time, like, how many days are you keeping my backups? Are there 2 days? Are they 5 days back? Did anyone ever test them to see if they actually work, even if we try to restore them? Number 2 says they're offsite. Make sure you don't keep your backups in the same folder with your site. So never save a backup archive in your public HTML folder or HTTP docs or anything like that, depending on your server. And always make sure you test them. It's not enough that the website is backed up. It's not enough that you have a backup that is offsite. Always make sure you test it. What if it doesn't work? What if you do get hacked? What if your backup supposedly would help you to get back online with a clean site, and that backup in itself is actually a copy of a hacked site, or even worse, it's a clean copy, but you cannot restore it. So you're still back to being hacked, right? And number 5 is something that I've told you in the 3rd or 4th slide, where I said, admit you're overwhelmed, is use professionals. Security is not something that, let's try to learn how to walk, or let's try to learn how to swim. Everybody can swim if you put enough time into it. Everybody can cycle, or anybody can maybe play football or soccer, or I don't know, everybody can read if they really try to do it. But security is one of those things that not everyone can do, not everyone can do well, and you should let the professionals do it for you. Admit when you're overwhelmed. Remember, the initial thought that I have was, oh, it's fine, it's just hack. I'm going to go through all these steps because I'm all about knowing tech and everything, and maybe with a little bit of narcissism in there and egoism, like, I'm going to do it myself, the ego coming in. And then you realize, oh my God, I cannot fix it myself. This is too big for me. This is just, my knowledge is not enough. And then you have to admit, when that point comes in time, just don't spend, as you see going forward, don't give that problem and that situation extra money and time, because you cannot do it in-house. Most of the times, the complications that arise from a hack, or the hack itself, it's so difficult to fix and get clean from, that it's just not worth it to do yourself. So use professionals. You can find me on Twitter, of course, on Instagram. I've already shared that I do a lot of photos. You can email me. And what I can say about us as a company is that we are in the business of solving problems. And even since we started in 2010, the whole focus of what we do is to deploy security solutions that make most sense for any website owner, regardless of the industry, regardless of the site. We protect your site. We are there to respond if something happens. Imagine I was going online at 4 a.m. Somebody was there trying to help me, ready to help me, and knowledgeable enough to actually do the job. Not just say, okay, we're going to take care of you. And then, of course, employing our website application firewall and our intrusion prevention system help you protect your website and make sure that you don't worry. We worry for you. We take everything out from your daily list of tasks that you have to do for your charity, for your project, for your small or big site. It doesn't matter. And this is achieved when you actually let the professionals do their job. Just don't carry that weight on your shoulders. Just let us do the job, and you get to do whatever you like most and take care of your project. And with that, if there's any questions that you would like to ask me, I'm happy to answer. Even after the webinar, you can keep tweeting at us at Sucuri Security. Make sure you use the hashtag #AskSucuri so we can actually find all the questions very fast, and we'll be happy to provide responses.
Thank you, Val. We do have a few questions that I'll give you the opportunity to answer right now. One question that came up was what you talked about in your learning or your best practice portion about, learning and staying knowledgeable. What sources do you use to stay kind of knowledgeable and just updated about the CMS that you use, and how often do you actively, check those sources?
Sure, that's a very good question. Of course, talking about any CMS, the #1 source would be their own website. Usually the news area, if they have specific like security releases, they would always post it on their blog or some sort of news space on the website. Like, for example, because we are talking about WordPress and this is a WordPress website, you can always go to wordpress.org and see in the news area that they always publish when they have new updates, larger one or smaller one addressing just specific security or other issues. And something else that I do is always employ Google Alerts a lot. Like make sure you do anything with CMS name, news, CMS name, whatever update. Even you can even go with hack, vulnerability, malware, attack, because if those things are happening and if somebody's publishing about them, you will, Google Alerts will get that information to you. And make sure you, when you check your frequency, like how often would you like those things to be emailed to you, even if you think that will be a little bit spammy, because it can get spammy, make sure you do it as soon as it happens, because you don't want to be the one to find out about it at the last, end of the day, and everybody was already updated, and you're still out there naked and open to attacks.
All right, thank you for answering that. Another question that came up was, did any of your website visitors notice that you had been hacked? And if so, did that impact the image of the project anyway, and any recovery that you had to do around that?
Yeah, sure. Remember I talked about it when I went through the steps of what happened. When the website got blacklisted, I immediately got phone calls. That was the only source of information for anybody looking about the project online. But also people, most of the ones already involved in the project in the past years, they knew my phone number, of course. So everybody was calling, "Hey, Val, your website is hacked. Something happened." And I don't know exactly how many of the people that didn't know about the project already went to the website during the blacklist period, but I'm sure people were not, happy to see that. And just imagine if you happen to find an email of a great project and somebody saying to you, maybe they dropped a message in your messenger saying, "Hey, check out this website. They're doing cool stuff. It's an amazing social project," and maybe you get to it after a few days when coincidentally that website is already hacked, as happened to me. So when you get to the website, of course you're never going to go back again. There's no credibility there. Of course there's a lot of, that's the first thing you lose, actually, credibility, because people go like, "I'm not going to come here, I'm just going to be hacked." Bye. Whatever you do as a project, they don't even see what you do, because you get the warning page.
All right, thank you for answering that.
Sure.
How did you go about requesting that review with Google regarding your blacklisting?
Sucuri took care of that one. I didn't do nothing. That's part of the services they provided, and by the end of the second day after they cleaned the website was already back online.
Okay, and we've got time for one more question. For other nonprofits or projects that are, like you said, strapped for cash, and it can be hard to, they don't have the resources. How do you find the time to make sure to update your website? I know you mentioned the Google Alerts, but how do you kind of carve that into your schedule? And then can you recommend anything of keeping tracks of the updates and when you've done them and all of that documentation?
Yeah, sure. That's also a very good question, and that speaks to the especially the amount of time you need to do that, because if you only have one website, it shouldn't be really difficult or not taking too much of your time to maybe check the whatever source for your platform is. For example, if it's WordPress, you can go on WordPress.org and see, okay, did they release anything new? Is there any update? Most of the WordPress installs out there already have the auto update activated, so you will just frankly just get an email sometimes in the morning saying your website was already updated. Now, of course, that depends on the platform you use and sometimes of the hosting provider, because they could allow those updates to go through automatically or not. But I think it's really important for you as a website owner to know at least the basic of your website, like what CMS am I running, what level of access do I have on the server, what version do I have on my CMS, and who is able or who has access to update that. Is it me? Can I do it myself? Do I have access to do it myself, or is my host doing that? That's also a very good question to ask your host before you actually start hosting with them. And we actually have some tweets going out, and also we had some messages on our social platforms that you can look for with lists of things to ask your host before you actually start hosting with them, because that's very important also. Of course, how you prepare your bed, that's how you sleep in it. But of course, you cannot blame anybody else. That's what I can say right now as a conclusion of everything that it happened to our site. I cannot go out and say, oh, somebody else, even if the hacker, yes, hacked my site, but they did because I wasn't paying attention. I wasn't making sure that I took every possible security measure that I could think of, or that I could ask a security professional to apply to my site to make sure it stays clean. Ultimately, I think it's our responsibility as website owners to make sure our websites are clean. And when we do everything we can, that gives less and less chances to attackers to penetrate.
Okay, and just for the record, your website has not been hacked since the second attempt.
Not
Okay.
ever.
All right. There were a couple questions that wanted to verify that, so
no,
we just wanted to make
our
that
website
clear.
was never hacked again. It started being protected in December 2014 by Sucuri firewall, and it's still protected, and nothing happened. Thank God, and thanks Sucuri.
Right. So that brings us to the close of our webinar. We want to thank everyone for their participation. If your question was not answered, head on over to Twitter, because Val is there and ready to answer any other questions using the Ask Sucuri hashtag. Please also take a moment to complete the webinar survey that's going to pop up once I close this webinar out. And we will be sending out the presentation soon, as well as details for our next webinar. So thank you, everyone, and have a great day.
Thank you.